Okay, cool. We're up. Oh my god, it's still broken. Hold up. I wonder if can I make it a little bit smaller? Will it stop freaking me out? Oh my god, it should work. Oh my god, it's still working. This is great. This is Pog. This is very
Hell yeah.
This is fucking Pog, dude. Nick, can Neil talk? Can Neil talk? Can you hear me?
Talking, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, perfect. Cool.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Alright. Testing. Can't even hear the rain sounds. How are we doing, y'all?
We are doing good.
We're existing.
I just got off work.
Yeah.
I'm ready to talk about the gay.
Nick is ready to talk about queer history. And I'm honestly gonna be learning a lot too.
Same.
Today is a learning day. It's a learning day. It's always a beautiful thing to learn, you know?
Hell yeah.
Hell
I am the resident US gay history expert. And also I've been, for the span of a month, just compiling, like, I wanted to go over, like, the most, what I consider is, like, the most underrepresented, but honestly, like, the most, like, important parts of, like, queer history, because, like, they're so foundational to, like, our culture, and then also, like, there's so much that we go through that, and it's, like, kind of like, we go through, like, the stuff kind of, like, now that, like, you know, and kind of learning, like, the origins of, like, how we got here, basically. But yeah. So today is about the Wild West, which, spoiler alert, was extremely gay. Very, very gay. Very, very queer. So, to start with...
Minicky.
Hell yeah. Oh, did you want to call out the fundraiser link?
Yeah, it's pinned. It's pinned in the chat for anybody that would like to donate. I am currently doing this stream as a part of Camp Chaos, and there's gonna be a lot of other content creators that are also joining in. But we are raising funds, you know, cause like shit's really rough right now. Like shit's really rough right now for like everybody. But honestly, if I have to say, it's especially rough for just trans people, just cause like they're being used as like the scapegoats to like everything going wrong. You know, like the really immature like way of just dealing with problems instead of addressing the problem, just blaming somebody else, you know? Kind of cringe, but that's how people do it.
When you're a population of less than 1% of the US population, it's very easy to say whatever the fuck you want about a group of people. And then, like, for those people to then, like, reach out and, like, try to educate the public, it takes a lot of work. And there's not many of us, so we appreciate any support and allies, honestly. Hell
yeah. But yeah, we're doing gay Cowboys. And we're doing gay Cowboys. I'm also kind of like delusional, and also just so y'all know, as a disclaimer, some of the subjects here are also kind of heavy. And if I laugh, it's because I'm trying not to cry, because it's actually really sad. It's sad, but it's important that we know about it.
Yes.
Laughing is my copium.
There are a lot of extremely cool parts of our history, but it's also not all puppies and rainbows, but it's stuff that, like, you know, this is our roots. This shit is like super important to know about. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So let me pull up. Is there anything you would like me to pull up? Honestly, just reply to whatever you want me to pull up, and I'll pull it up on stream, okay?
Yeah. I think first I just have like a little, or like a kind of like the very starting points, and then there's like a a really good video that I found that we'll like watch and like react to and talk about.
Yeah, just forward it, and I'm gonna go let my blue sky know that I'm live right now. Baby, can you do that too?
Yeah.
On your blue sky? Thanks, Spooky. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, baby girl.
Hell yeah.
Baby girl. I sound constipated. No, maybe. I don't know.
Hell yeah, lurking.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Noon. Just, hey, you being here, everybody being here, it's really appreciated. Thank you. Very much. It really means a lot to us. Like, I mean it. It means a lot.
Hell
Yeah. Let me know when you're ready, and I can just pull it up, and you can just roll with it, Nick.
yeah.
Yeah.
So first I'll cover this section and then I'll have something to link to you. So, queer history within the United States, it does span like immemorial, like thousands of years to start with. So like long before like European colonization, over 155 tribes across Turtle Island were documented to embrace multi-gendered cultures. They fulfilled roles as like caretakers for children without who didn't have parents. They were healers, still are like within the cultures, keepers of knowledge, leadership roles. They're viewed as like sacred and gifted. Still are. And the term that we use modernly is like two spirit. So a two spirit person in one's family was considered an honor. People were not divided into rigid gender roles. Same-sex relationships and varied gender expression were seen as a normal part of life. It was with European colonization that introduced rigid heteronormative gender roles and anti-queer sentiments, driven largely by Christianity. Often forcing children into residential schools that force strict gender binaries onto them, as well as like other cultural erasure. So like elders that refused to send children to these boarding schools, they were often incarcerated. And like there were children who would like try to like run away from these boarding schools. They were often like hunted down and forced back. It was estimated that over 100,000 indigenous children suffered through the boarding school era. And like throughout history, like many colonialism and assimilation policies were aimed at erasing these important parts of indigenous culture for the European ones. And then now we can get to a video. Here's the video.
Okay. Yeah, I was already pulling it up.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Bruh, aren't they like still finding like bodies like from residential schools like all over the freaking place though?
Yeah.
That's fucked up. That's some fucked up shit, bro. That's some fucked up shit. Also, I'm like adjusting stuff, so like don't mind me.
Yeah. I'm also gonna have it playing off to the side just because of the delay, so like
Yeah.
I can just have it going.
Yeah, no worries.
And then pause whenever you got something to say, or I'll like be like pause if I got something to say. But
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up and see, you should be good to go. Okay. Hopefully it shows up.
Howdy, partner. Why don't you rest your bones here with me by the fire for a while? Roast some marshmallows. All I have are the mini ones, sorry. I want to tell you a story that's been forgotten by most for a long, long time. You see, not many out here in the Wild Wild West think of our history as queer. But the truth is, the West was always queer, much more so than you'd think. From radical, unapologetic lesbians paving their own path to the brave trans folks looking for freedom, to the gay cowboys just searching for love. Beneath the sands and dry earth lay the stories of LGBTQ folks out here waiting to be remembered. But while that history is full of love and power for some, it's also a legacy of pain, struggle, and the ramifications of settler colonialism for others. Well, what's new? History is and always will be complex, and you've got to take all of the nuance to get the full story and do justice by everyone involved. And I'd like you to hear it, because it's wilder than a bucking bronco. Come learn with me. Side note, we won't discuss gay cowboy movies in this video, but I promise it'll be a near future one. But before I take you on this journey, let's hear a word from today's sponsor, Sundance Now. By the way, guys, don't worry. Tutter's here, and he's got his little cowboy hat on. I've been really searching for new shows lately, especially thrillers that combine period drama elements with mystery, fantasy, and romance. You know, all the best stuff. So I'm so excited that today's sponsor is Sundance Now, because boy have they got some awesome stuff in their library. Sundance Now is an ad-free streaming service filled with loads of amazing shows including prestige dramas, international thrillers, documentaries, and true crime. I've been watching the British drama A Discovery of Witches, based on the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness, and if you like shows with an interesting mystery, fantasy, and immaculate dark academia vibes, you should definitely check this show out. Sundance Now has a huge number of shows that release weekly from around the world, and I wouldn't be able to find anywhere else, but they've also got some of my longtime favorites like Loving Vincent and Bombshell. I also started watching New Gold Mountain because it totally fits the video topic, and it's great to see a show about the Australian gold rush with a diverse cast told from the perspective of the Chinese miners, of course featuring a thrilling murder mystery. You can stream Sundance Now on all your favorite devices for as low as $4.99 a month. Just download the app via Apple and Android devices, Amazon Fire TV, Google Chromecast, and Roku, or watch online and discover exclusive shows from around the world instantly. To start streaming your next obsession, try Sundance Now for free for 30 days by going to sundancenow.com and using the promo code CASRO. Thank you so much to Sundance Now for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to learning about the queer history of the Wild Wild West. Westward expansion in the United States was driven by a very, very large number of coexisting forces. There were the government-driven acts of manifest destiny, aka the belief that the United States was owed all this land from East Coast to West Coast, that it was this country's destiny to take over and tame the wild and savage lands with civilized force. Yeah, a whole hawk of bullshit. Part of Manifest Destiny came in the form of encouraged settlement. Decades and decades of settlement saw the strategic removal and murder of thousands and thousands of Native Americans. If you go further west, out here to what is now the state of California, the Spanish had already done that work ahead of time. The native people of Turtle Island are not gone. Despite the best efforts of colonialism and genocide, they are very much still alive and trying to preserve their culture. I'll be linking resources below where you can learn more and give your support, but also, this video's AdSense revenue from the first week of the video being live will be donated to the First Nations Development Institute, which does awesome work in supporting tribal institutions, doing Native youth outreach, supporting Native financial empowerment, facilitating the preservation of Native lands and foods, and much, much more. So, as you can imagine, long before the cowboy ever became an American icon, movement westward was being romanticized and promoted to people on the East Coast in a wide variety of ways. But some of the time, the people going west weren't necessarily going because of family. They were going because they had no options left, and the massive mining, cattle, and railroad industries flourishing in the West were the only places they had left to go. Most cowboys weren't these romantic cishet white men living a life of horseback freedom, which is exactly the image most East Coast folks grew to believe, even at the height of the Old West era. In reality, they were laborers, often black, brown, and indigenous people, formerly incarcerated people, gay people. They usually had some kind of past that they were running from. Maybe they were a former enslaved person, or had been on the run from the law, or had been completely disowned by their community for their sexuality, and most of all, these laborers were deeply, deeply poor. The people flourishing in the West, more often than not, were the livestock kings and railroad owners and mining barons. The livestock industry in particular exploded in size and power after the Civil War, as native people were killed or forcibly removed from their lands to make way for new settlements and cattle lands. By the time the 1880s rolled around, beef ruled the country and it needed many, many more hands to handle it. This is where the professional cowboys became an American establishment, otherwise called cowpunchers, drovers, buckaroos, wranglers, or vaqueros. These working men were in the same working class category as coal miners or factory workers. It's a complicated situation. How much freedom is there in a job that pays so little and burns you out, but is still better than what you came from because you were running from something? As Patricia Nell Warren observed, nobody asked questions. All that mattered was whether he could be trusted with a horse and a lariat. A cowpuncher was usually poor. He owned his clothes, horse gear, rope and bedroll, maybe a harmonica or a Colt 45. But he did have pride in his person. His clothes, boots, and gear were good quality, his hat varied in shape, a wide Spanish brim in sun-fried Texas, a narrow brim in the windy northern plains. But the horses he rode usually belonged to the boss. Well into the 20th century, his wage was $40 a month and board, less if he was black or Mexican. Exceedingly different from the romanticized movie version of the life as free, unindustrial masculine life, promoted at the turn of the century when the Old West was on its way into only memory. Safe to say, cowboys did not have an easy job. Oftentimes it meant wrangling horses or cattle, an extremely dangerous task that could get you killed. Sometimes a horse could be tamed, sometimes they continued to be a bucker, and only a few talented buckaroos could stay on their backs. From this emerged rodeo as a sport and entertainment from the Spanish word for roundup. It was wildly popular, especially after the excitement of Buffalo Bill Cody's shows in the 1880s, and provided a way for cowboys to make more money than they ever would at their regular jobs. But it was also deadly for both the animals and the riders. Was that enough to deter people from the sport? Of course not. Because for one thing, rodeo was a place where marginalized communities were able to come together and form extremely tight bonds, and it still is. Rebecca Schofield writes in Outriders, Rodeo at the Fringes of the American West, in many ways, early rodeo actually reflected to a closer degree the diversity of rural working class life in the West. Women could bronc ride, the rare African American performer could headline a show, and a Native American cowboy could be crowned champion. To say that these Old West societies were not all straight and white is an unbelievable understatement. Up to 40% of cattle workers were black, and an incalculable percentage of the rest were Mexican. I literally cannot overstate enough just how prominent of a population formerly enslaved black people were among cowboys. In fact, these black cowboys were so good at their jobs that many people grew to believe that they must have some sort of spiritual connection to the line of work. The largest population of black cowpokes was in Texas, where enslaved and free black people were nearly 30% of the population in 1860. But though they were good at their jobs, it was not made easy on them. In fact, some of the hardest or most dangerous tasks often got put onto the black cowhands on the team. Frequently, this was because the cattlemen who owned these ranching operations were former enslavers themselves, and carried over their antebellum beliefs and habits into the post-Civil War era. Even so, black cowboys continued to make powerful reputations west of the Mississippi. Sapphic women in general had a lot of reasons for wanting to move out west. For one thing, a sort of staple of the Sapphic imagination is the nature-filled escapist rural utopia where women-loving women can live in female-dominant societies free from men. This idea has very long histories and stretches all the way up to the cottagecore dream of today. Of course, there's still issues here, especially in the American context. Sapphic rural settlements idealization is still settler idealization. But you can see where this whole idea came from for single women, right? Because if there's one thing men have, it's the audacity. And by God, do lesbians sometimes just want to fucking run away and live undisturbed in the woods like Baba Yaga, or like Madame Zeroni. This was even more stark for Victorian women who grew up in a world being told that their only place was in the home, following certain rules, getting married and having children, and then being a mother to both your kids and your husband until you die. An ambitious woman living eastward could easily see an opportunity for the first time to define her own destiny out west. Yes, it's hard to build from scratch, but at least you are building it. I need to make it very clear, first off, that the height of the Old West days was before modern sexuality labels existed. The way people thought about sexuality was very different from how we think of it today. You can check out my videos in my LGBTQ history playlist to learn more, but essentially, sexuality wasn't yet considered to be who you were, it was what you did. So very frequently, people would engage in queer relationships and still consider themselves normal, as long as they fit into certain other social expectations, most importantly, gender presentation and marriage. This is part of why the term confirmed bachelor is a queer code phrase. For a man to deliberately go his whole life refusing to marry was absolutely considered queer. And, well, due to the circumstances, many cowboys ended up becoming confirmed bachelors. Long-term job commitments far away from any nearby towns for up to several months meant that most male cowboys were going that long without seeing a woman at all. There usually weren't women working on ranches in order to prevent conflict, and not only that, but visiting a brothel in town could land you with an incurable STD. Remember, penicillin wasn't a thing yet. As a result, cowboys frequently linked up with each other to let out sexual frustrations, whether they considered themselves queer or not. And many cowboys were never in one place for too long. They moved from ranch to ranch, from mountains to fields, constant movement that made it easy for gay cowboys to avoid speculation. But at the same time, many cowboys ended up forming extremely close partnerships literally akin to marriages, spending their lives together, starting businesses, moving from ranch to ranch in tandem. Regardless of sexuality, this was a fiscally useful thing to do. When you only make $40 or less a month, you don't make nearly enough to support a wife and children, but with another male partner, you can stay together on the job and pool both of your incomes, maybe enough over the years to buy and operate your own ranch together. As the article, Paradise of Bachelors, The Social World of Men in 19th Century America states, without the presence of women, the always unstable line dividing the homosocial from the homosexual, that is, dividing non-sexual male bonding activities from sexual contact between men, became even more blurred. As traditional notions of normal gender roles were challenged and unsettled, men could display both subtly and openly the erotic connections they felt for other men. When the miners at Angel Camp in Southern California held dances, half of the men danced the part of women, wearing patches over the crotches of their pants to signal their feminine role. And in this marginally more accepting environment, it was easier for men with gay preferences to make it known. Bringing up anything related to gay poet Walt Whitman, for instance, was an easy-coded way to say, "I'm gay." When it comes to sapphic women, as usual, it's a lot harder to trace that history, though. Part of this is because, in general, society was more tolerant to sapphic relationships than it was towards gay male ones, because in an incredibly patronizing way, they weren't seen as valid because there was no male present. The only time people were getting into legal trouble for being in a lesbian relationship was if one or both people in the couple were imitating a man in some way, either sexually or in what they wore. And I'll get into this in a future video more, but this is where the term romantic friendship comes into play. It was encouraged and seen as normal for women to be in romantic partnerships, as long as you get straight married eventually. Lesbian relationships saw an incredibly conditional type of acceptance. It was only tolerated to certain degrees, past which it was a huge problem. Some lesbians were fairly open about their lifestyles, though. Like in Lake City, Iowa, a woman named Shirley Martin, who liked to dress in somewhat masculine attire, was absolutely picking up chicks left and right, treating them on dates to picture shows and ice cream. In a 1912 news article, She said that though she was never proposed to, I might have won a wife if I had tried very hard though. But other stories were not so sweet. Content warning, the story I'm about to tell describes suicide, so skip to this time if you'd like to avoid it. So one story we do have about sapphic couples out west is the story of Jessie Elizabeth Wrigley and Portia Doyle. Portia was married to a man before she met Jessie, and they became incredibly close. Very, very, very close. So close that Portia divorced her husband, saying she didn't love him anymore. Jessie and Portia went to live together, and sometime later, after events that we'll never know, the two women's bodies were discovered together by a corral fence. They had planned the whole thing out, walking down to the fence with pre-written notes tucked into their dresses, and hung their hats on the fence. Jessie then shot Portia through the heart, and then herself. The letters they had in their dresses talked of their deep love for each other and asked that they be buried in the same coffin. Jessie wrote, "From my youth upwards, my spirits walked not with the souls of men, nor looked upon the earth with human eyes. The things of their ambition were not mine. My joys, my griefs, my passions, and my powers made me a stranger." But despite the pain still there, you can imagine where the considerably more unstructured societies of the early Old West would not only be a ripe environment for gay men and lesbians, but for trans and gender nonconforming folks as well. Because so many people in these societies had a past that they were on the run from, it was easier, though not easy, to get away with living as a trans person because people just didn't ask too many questions. Some people who lived as a different gender were, yes, women dressing as men for job purposes or to avoid harassment. It wasn't unheard of for women to disguise themselves as men while traveling in the West because in this time period, it was so unbelievably dangerous for women to travel alone. Other women dressed in masculine attire so they could have the privilege of simply wandering, exploring the outdoors alone. And still others were lesbians who dressed in masculine clothes in order to become the protectors and friends and partners of the town's sex workers, or because they just preferred it. And of course, there were the women who dressed in men's clothes so they could commit crimes. Come on. This is the Wild West we're talking about after all. But others were literally trans men, and I make the distinction where it is very clear what the person's preferences were. Many historical trans men were very outspoken and adamant that their gender be recognized, and were firm in their declaration that they wanted to live as men. Oftentimes, they were highly respected by their Western communities, and even after their secret was revealed, people still respected their manhood. On the other hand, often women simply trying to pass as men for a specific purpose later on went on to say so, or would return to living as women later on in life. When looking for answers on how to regard historical people who surpassed conventional gender in some way, we must try our best to defer to their own actions, lives, and statements. If someone lived as a certain gender and died as a certain gender, what other proof is it going to take for you to accept them as such? Regardless of the circumstances, that's the choices they made, and they need to be respected in death, regardless of if their true sex was discovered post-mortem or whatever. I'm dead serious about this, alright? If you're a transphobe or a person who is adamant about denying trans history, this is not the channel for you, and you're not welcome roasting marshmallows at my campfire. Anyways, here's some stories of real Old West trans folks. One was Alan Hart, born in 1890. Alan was assigned female at birth, but openly stated during treatment under the physician J. Allen Gilbert that he had never felt right about womanhood. He only cared for boyish pursuits and demanded to be treated as the man of the family. He also continually fell in love with women, taking care to specify that he loved them as a man. In medical school, Hart learned about his condition. Gilbert agreed that the only way for Hart to treat his condition was to accept it and pursue his life as he wanted to live it. Gilbert performed a hysterectomy on Hart, and he cut his hair and took on wearing masculine clothes full time. Hart went on to marry women twice and lived as a man until his death in the 60s. Hart said in a 1918 interview, "I had to do it. For years I had been unhappy. With all the inclinations and desires of the boy, I had to restrain myself to the more conventional ways of the other sex. I have been happier since I made this change than I ever have in my life, and I will continue to live this way as long as I live." Another was a guy named Harry Allen, who was well known to be a real scallywag. He liked to brawl in saloons and drink and pick up women and just kinda raise hell in general. Of course, all that was par for the course in the Wild Wild West, but then the newspapers caught wind that Harry was assigned female at birth, and it turned into a media sensation. When interviewed by the Sunday Times in 1908, Harry said, "I did not like to be a girl, did not feel like a girl, never did look like a girl, so it seemed impossible to make myself a girl, and sick at heart over the thought that I would be an outcast of the feminine gender, I conceived the idea of making myself a man." This resulted in Harry becoming a target for overzealous cops and prosecutors who were constantly going after him with weird charges, resulting in him getting arrested in 1912 for white slavery because he brought a sex worker named Isabel Maxwell over state lines claiming she was his wife. Tragically, Harry Allen died at the young age of 40. There's also the story of Old Nash, a laundress who married a number of soldiers, as recalled by General Custer's wife Elizabeth. She recalled that Old Nash had tried living as a man but became weary of it and transitioned to living life as a woman. She became highly respected in the Fort Lincoln community and was married to her last husband, John Noonan, for 5 years. Old Nash was also the local midwife, known for her kindness towards pregnant women, baking pies and always asking, "Are you comf?" No one knew she was trans until her death, and on her deathbed, she asked to be buried as she was, with her clothes untouched. Unfortunately, her wishes were not respected, and word got out that Old Nash had been born a man. Her husband received widespread ridicule, for which he sadly ended his life. Elizabeth Custer thought no different of her friend Old Nash after finding out the news. She said, "Poor dear. I hope she is finally comf." Sorry to say, the most clear cases we have of trans people in this time period usually come from sad cases like this, and the same can be said about gay people too, because unfortunately, the happy endings in times like these are the ones that no one knew enough about for them to become reported on. For centuries, the most clear accounts we had of queer folks were the tragedies, the court cases. Sometimes it's the hidden diaries and letters that miraculously escaped being burned by family members or destroyed by the wearing of time. Some cases were deliberately reinterpreted by historians to seem straight or cisgender, others written off because our modern idea of what makes someone queer doesn't mesh with historical queerness. This is why I say that when we are looking for queer history, there's two types of queer history that we're looking for. The queerness that is queer because it is to us and holds queer historical value to us today, and the queerness as it was considered queer in its historical context to historical people. Though these are two different things, and most of the time they overlap, they are equally valuable, and it's not a crime to find queer history in ways that may be considered anachronistic. All history is like this. It's funny how queer history, as well as history that centers non-white people, is the only place where this is scrutinized. Laura Doan states that history is always in the service of the present. This is not a problem of history, it is a condition of history. And though so much historical queerness is not overt, there is so much beauty in what is there when you're open-minded enough to find it hiding in plain sight. I'd like to read you part of a poem, if you don't mind. This is The Lost Partner by Badger Clark, published in 1919. I ride alone and hate the boys I meet. Today, some way, their laughing hurts me so. I hate the steady sun that glares and glares. The bird songs make me sore. I seem the only thing on earth that cares, 'cause Al ain't here no more. And him so strong and yet so quick he died. And after year on year, when we had always trailed it side by side, he went and left me here. We loved each other in the way men do, and never spoke about it, Al and me. But we both knowed, and knowing it so true, was more than any woman's kiss could be. What is there out there, beyond the last divide? Seems like that country must be cold and dim. He'd miss the sunny range he used to ride, and he'd miss me, the same as I do him. It's no use thinking, all I'd think or say could ever make it clear. Out that dim trail that only leads one way, he's gone and left me here. The range is empty and the trails are blind, and I don't seem but half myself today. I wait to hear him riding up behind, and feel his knee rub mine the good old way.
Bro, that is so fucking sad. Holy shit.
It makes me want to cry every
Bro,
time.
I'm fucking crying right now. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Bro, it's so sad. Oh my
This
god.
guy's being dudes. Dudes being gay.
They're just Being happy little gay dudes. Look at him. Oh my god. Sorry, I'm just like over here just fucking crying. Crying, screaming, throwing up on mute. Oh my god.
For real.
Oh, my dog to drive me nuts too. I'm gonna continue playing the video.
Hell yeah.
Around the turn of the century, when many former cowboys were being interviewed in national papers and magazines, many would recount their memories of just how homosocial these cattle communities were, the way the cowboys would as a group talk about their struggles and relationships with women and swear to live only dedicated to their male partnerships until death. In so much Victorian Western literature, the tale follows two men traveling the frontier together, some of them even having mock weddings, others unspoken, only begging for one last kiss from their partners before they die. Still others hid the queerness in innuendo or code, or were extremely obvious, like Walt Whitman did in his poems in Leaves of Grass. If you're wondering why this book was so pivotal to Victorian gay men, to the point where just mentioning you're into Whitman's poems was coded for saying that you're gay, just listen to this passage from the very gay Calamus section in the poem Of the Terrible Doubt of Appearances. When he whom I love travels with me, or sits along while holding me by the hand, when the subtle air, the impalpable, the sense that words and reason hold not, surround us and pervade us, when I am charged with untold and untenable wisdom, I am silent. I require nothing further. I cannot answer the question of appearances or that of identity beyond the grave. But I walk or sit indifferent. I am satisfied. He, a hold of my hand, has completely satisfied me. And later, in What Think You I Take My Pen in Hand, but merely of two simple men I saw today on the pier in the midst of the crowd, parting the parting of dear friends, the one to remain hung on the other's neck and passionately kissed him, while the one to depart tightly pressed the one to remain in his arms. I have some issues with Whitman, like as a person, but it's undeniable that his gay poetry is beautiful and was extremely poignant at the time, and held a lot of significance to the cowboys who could identify with these words. Sapphic women, though, in the Old West had so much less to see themselves reflected in, because, as I said before, sapphic love has historically been considered oxymoronic in every aspect. Kim Emery writes, "It is a truism, for example, that lesbian experience is inflicted and afflicted by apparently incompatible social stereotypes. Lesbians are assumed to be both men and women's bodies, and women marked as masculine by physical anomaly. Lesbians are accused of hating men and of wanting to be men, of being both sexually predatory and essentially asexual, of committing unspeakable sexual acts, and of lacking the endowments necessary to perform any act that could conceivably be considered to constitute sex. This isn't just a historical reality. It's true of lesbians today, too. Sapphics had to create their own hidden ways to be seen or not be seen at all to protect their safety. They didn't have the accepted excuses, brotherhood culture, or widespread group settings that the cowboys did that afforded them easy and somewhat normalized access to gay partnerships. But it was still there, hidden in plain sight, same as so much sapphic love from elsewhere at the time period. And though it wasn't overt, many sapphic women saw themselves reflected in popularized stories, both fictional and not, of rowdy outlaw women of the West like Calamity Jane, Mary Fields, Sally Skull, Belle Starr, and Pearl Hart. In a way, many sapphic women in the Old West saw themselves as outlaws of a kind, though they may have lived quietly, never slung a pistol, maybe just flew under the radar, or their relationships with women were fleeting before the pressures of society took their toll. Women-loving women, and people who eschewed the boundaries of gender, were always there, in the margins. Later on, especially after World War II, the romantic fantasy of the Old West and its mythos would rise, and therefore give more cultural validity to cowboy and rodeo culture. This means that as spaces like rodeo became more populated and controlled by cishet white men, openly gay riders and people of color were disallowed in the spaces and forced to reconstruct their own spaces once again. This is particularly poignant when it comes to the mid-century, when the imaginary fantasy of the Wild Wild West became a cultural keystone. Thousands of American men had just returned from war, utterly traumatized and beaten down, coming home to a society that was now obsessed with of perfect domesticity. What the Old West symbolized to them was heroism, vigilante justice, freedom, and grungy masculinity, ignoring the complicated truths of what the Old West actually was. And for rural Americans who were and still are typically economically disempowered, the Old West myths provided a sense of pride, a great history that they could project themselves into and feel empowered by a glorious identity. Rebecca Schofield continues, within the first several decades of the 20th century, the cowboy had transcended his status as an occupational folk hero to represent a profound belief in American exceptionalism. Just as Theodore Roosevelt's Rough Riders used military conquest in the Spanish-American War to secure Anglo-America's dominance over populations in Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, so they used the image of the cowboy to communicate a global message about America's ability to civilize the world. The seeds of the Old Western transformation into the great American mythos were planted long before the Old West was even really a thing. But the way the life of a cowboy in the Old West began to be symbolized after World War II was so off course from the reality of cowboy life, it's nearly fantastical. As we'll discuss in a future video, Western films and novels would have you believe that cowboys were gunslinging vigilante heroes, taking the West by capturing savage native people, rescuing damsels, and looking for redemption astride a big buff horse. But real cowboys, as we've learned, were much more akin to working class tradesmen because being a cowboy wasn't an identity, it was a job. They typically didn't interact with Native Americans too much unless they were paying a toll or they themselves were Native American, and many cowboys weren't permitted to carry guns on the job due to safety issues, and a lot of the time they weren't even riding a big horse, but rather a smaller, more agile one. And a lot of the best cowboys weren't even that tall, because it was a job more easily done by short people. But people outside of the West weren't seeing that reality.
Hell yeah, short kings.
Hell yeah, Short King representation.
Short king represented. I mean, yeah, short king's more compact for horse riding. Makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. Also, in the middle of that, Beans straight up launched herself off of me because B brought her food into the room.
Oh my god. That will.
Yeah. She piddled. She's like, get me out of here because I piddled and I'm hungry. But yeah, I continue playing the video. I just thought it was a very important update.
Hell yeah.
What they saw was the fictionalized or sensationalized stories in newspapers or books, the beautiful romantic art. Some cowboys recounted the way that East Coasters would travel west as tourists just to see the cowboys, and the real cowboys would put on an act pretending to be that romanticized fake image that the Easterners wanted to see. But it makes complete sense that if the cowboy has been transformed into the American representative, he will therefore adopt the traits that American nationalism and masculinity need from him. In the rise of the Western genre, the cowboy became that violent lone wolf. He is American individualism and righteous conquest personified, and in that transformation, therefore, the cowboy must shed himself of anything that doesn't fall in line with that goal. He can't be soft, gay, emotional, except when one of his partners dies. That can never change. Modern hypermasculinity, completely by accident, always manages to be homoerotic. This use of the cowboy image as a tool has become a huge political tool in the last 70 years, from Ronald Reagan's "I'm just like you" presidential ranch photo shoots, all the way up to the post-9/11 era when George W. Bush utilized Old Western cowboy language and metaphors to describe the imminent American invasion into Iraq. So with this as the plight of the American cowboy, it's no wonder that he has become a sort of litmus test for the state of American society itself. Now the cowboy is an iconographic battleground, torn in all directions by various groups. On one hand, the cowboy is an icon of rough and tough rural cishet white men with a horse, a pistol, and hell to pay. Oftentimes, the cowboy here is used to further American imperialist and capitalistic beliefs, like the way that Gary Cooper and John Wayne were the universal image of the cowboy in the mid-century, and for Cooper his whole life, and were closely connected with anti-communism and stark conservatism, similar to bitch boy Ronald Reagan. This is part of why most people associate country music today with, old Jimmy Joe, howling about picking up broads in the billiard room while chugging beer and thinking about banging his truck or whatever. And of course, we know how much worse that got in the post-9/11 era. We'll put a boot in your ass. This is the USA. Poetry. Because of the mid-century association of cowboys as the representation of America, they are therefore used as a tool to further the greater American cultural agenda. But that doesn't mean that all Western American culture looks like this. I mean, just look at Johnny Cash, who also exemplified the cowboy, but also was staunchly anti-war, pro-native, and pro-gay, and rocked these iconic thigh-high boots, so there's really no contest here. And around the same time, the cowboy took on another meaning entirely to gay people, gay men in particular. He replaced the sailor as the quintessential gay icon. Now, before World War II, sailors were heavily associated with homosexuality by both the gay community and everyone else. George Chauncey writes in Gay New York, the sailor, seen as young and manly, unattached and unconstrained by conventional morality, epitomized the bachelor subculture in the gay cultural imagination. He served for generations as the central masculine icon in gay pornography, as the paintings of Charles Demuth and Paul Cadmus from the early decades of the century and the photographs produced by gay pornographers and its middle decades attest. But as the records of anti-vice investigators show, his role in the gay subculture was not simply as an object of fantasy. He was a central figure in the subculture, and his haunts became the haunts of gay men as well. So you can see how World War II might change this. The war cemented the US's idea of itself in the cultural imagination in such a way that it was impossible for sailors in the Navy to continue being associated with homosexuality. Mainstream culture just couldn't bear to imagine that sailors could be heroes and gay. Ironically, the war sort of made people more gay than ever, though. It offered an opportunity for people of all genders questioning their sexuality to experiment in the homosocial environments that the war brought, as men were taken away from their families and surrounded by mostly other men, and women were not only left at home surrounded by mostly other women, but also for the first time found themselves independent and exploring the workforce. The war disrupted that heteronormative nuclear family structure, and when the war ended, the US was desperate to get it back. The post-war era saw not only the extreme idolification of the military, but a dramatic re-uptick in homophobia during the Cold War as people struggled anxiously to fit in again, something now so much harder to do after so many people had experienced the alternative. So the sailor is no longer a gay icon for the most part, but popular culture provided a perfect replacement. The cowboy. The cowboy shares a lot of the key factors here with the sailor. He's typically a bachelor, he's on the fringes of society, maybe he feels like he doesn't fit in. He struggles with his relationships to women or isn't exposed to them at all. He also symbolizes idealized rough and sexy masculinity. Perfect. It was similar with lesbians and cowgirls. Many lesbians became attached to the image of the tough cowgirl as the fantasy of the Old West represented a place where wild women were not expected to be in the confines of the home, usually, nor marriage. Way out west, as it once wasn't just a fantasy, women could be rough riders too. Cowgirls felt to many sapphic women like a glorified representation of powerful female masculinity and independence. And gay people weren't about to just let themselves be excluded from Western culture, so they forged their own spaces. Gay people organized their own rodeo groups, as did other marginalized communities, and earned horrible and honestly ironic backlash in response. Rebecca Schofield again, because this book was full of amazing points. For much of the 20th century, Indian Halloween costumes and Hawaiian luau's were aspects of everyday American life, available for easy consumption and disposal. Yet the rage expressed towards gay people, women, incarcerated people, and people of color who dared to tread foot on the soil of the rodeo arena reveals the uneven flow of cultural symbols between the margins and the center. Knowing full well that the post-war greater American idea of the cowboy is more of a Disney-ified cosplay of who they originally were, Why is it so narrow who gets to partake in that celebration? Knowing just how diverse rodeo and cowpokes were, why is there so much rage when marginalized people put on the costume and get in the ring too? It's here, at this junction, where the icon of the cowboy is pulled in many different directions. And as people on the marginalized end of that tug of war, we need to be extremely careful how we engage with that struggle, so as not to celebrate this world by uplifting its role as a tool of American imperialism and native erasure. At the same time, the push to further queer and racialize, as in make less white, the popular image of the cowboy is in and of itself a challenge to the American white supremacist construct. Beanosh Joffrey writes in Desire, Settler Colonialism, and the Racialized Cowboy, if the figure of the cowboy is an icon for an idealized form of American masculine subjecthood, then the figure of the racialized cowboy is articulating something about the relationship between non-whiteness and American masculinity. The racialized cowboy disrupts, on the one hand, the presumed whiteness of the cowboy, throwing the racialization of settler authority into question. This is part of why Lil Nas X drew so much ire during his Old Town Road era, long before he started making openly gay content. The fact that he, as a black man, was so unapologetically staking claim on the popular image of the cowboy really pissed off the people who are invested in maintaining the myth of the old Western white fantasy, when in reality, Lil Nas X managed to represent a huge population of true history who have long been forgotten. Black cowboys, gay cowboys, and of course, black gay cowboys. Today, rodeo circles, as they did in the past, offer rural, marginalized folks a family structure they otherwise wouldn't have had access to. The first Rainbow Rodeo was held in Nevada in 1976 to fundraise for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, which set off a gay rodeo movement. Gay rodeo set itself apart in many ways by offsetting hypermasculinity with fun and campiness. Like the very existence of marginalized cowpokes, it challenged the mainstream ideas of what it really means to be a part of this world. Schofield again. To men like Ralph Lauren and Ronald Reagan, playing cowboy was a masculine birthright. Gay rodeo, which invited cowboys to play feminine as well as hypermasculine, disturbed notions of American masculinity not only because it threatened to overthrow serious cowboy tradition with frivolous gay fun, but also because it threatened to demonstrate publicly the constructed nature of gender and sexuality in general. Americans could play cowboy in the political arena and fashion world, yet gay cowboys who at times wore dresses threatened to expose all cowboyness as a gendered performance. And out of that broader structure comes the roots of what has in recent years evolved into more open and unashamed gay reclamation of the cowboy image. Music, for instance, is one of the biggest avenues for gay cowpoke visibility. In the past, it was through comedic and insulting songs such as the Lavender Cowboy.
Oh, that lavender cowboy.
Okay, I need to pause it here because it is beautiful. Just a cream puff of the West with a little cowboy hat.
Oh no. The cream puff of the West is meant to be an insult.
Wow. But the dog, it's so
Yeah.
cute.
It is cute.
That's a cute dog. The dog is not named Cream Puff. We're it's not an insult to the dog. Poor little dog. I was just mentioning the dog.
Yeah, the dog is very cute.
Yeah. Right before this, Beans jumped on me and then she just like dug her little nails into my hand and I was like, Beans, I love you. But please. Beans. Bruh. That's crazy though.
Beans.
Bruh. Girl, you gotta stop. She tries to like keep jumping from the bed over to me and I'm like, no, you're gonna hurt yourself. Bro, I am learning so much, but also it's like taking me a second to like process it. Just because it's like,
it's a lot of information.
it's a lot. It's a lot. It's really
It's a lot that we don't learn about.
Yeah.
It's important, like, because, you know, especially as it's used for like certain narratives, like, it's important to like, you know the real shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like poetry it's such a window to the soul, honestly.
Yeah.
And
They say that the greatest times of oppression is when the greatest art comes out. Like, because every single time there's like a renaissance of just like amazing like art and music and poetry, writings, amazing books. We learned a lot. And then like things are like recorded and then we have them. Art is very powerful and important.
I agree.
Make art.
Make art. Make art. Support your local artists. Speaking of local artists, Mimi. I'm pretty sure she's off somewhere living her best life. But she also did recently drop a Pride Month collection of stickers. Where's the link? Hold up. I have it around here somewhere. Where's Mimi's link? I'll find it. I'll find it while the video plays and we continue learning.
Yeah.
Just a cream puff of the wind, and he wanted to be a hero, and win fame like all the rest.
Later on, we would see somewhat more serious ones. Willie Nelson's Cowboys Are Frequently Secretly Fond of Each Other, Frankie and Johnny by Lonnie Donegan and his Skiffle Group, Bruce Springsteen's My Lover Man, Crying These Sucking Tears by Lavender Country, Limp Wrist and a Steady Hand by My Gay Banjo, and in my opinion, Jolene by Dolly Parton. And in more recent years, you've seen the rise of gay or gay support in country singers like Orville Peck, Casey Musgraves, Brandi Carlile, Amethyst Kaya, Golden Child, Little Bandit. Orville Peck himself really digs into both the glamour of cowboy gayness and also its melancholia, with his bittersweet crooning doom pop music against romantic, dark, but glimmering rhinestone visuals. But even outside of media, the cowboy holds a very strong grip on the queer imagination, in part stemming from the melancholy of the loss of the ranching system after World War II, when so many cowboys came back from war to find their jobs displaced by new agricultural machinery, with little access left to the system that had allowed them such easy covert access to gay partnerships. Rural gay communities developed a bittersweet attachment to the symbol of the cowboy. From the mid-century onwards saw the growth of Western-themed gay and lesbian bars and square dancing groups, and cowpokes have always had a strong place in queer art too. I mean, just go look at all the Tom of Finland gay cowboy art, most of which is way too raunchy for me to show here. And you can see where this causes a lot of tension with the population of straight people who want to pretend the West was never queer, because like most things marginalized, their very presence upends their fantasy of a perfect old West right out of a John Wayne film. As Leslie Feidler wrote almost 60 years ago, the existence of overt homosexuality threatens to compromise an essential aspect of American sentimental life: the camaraderie of the locker room and ballpark, the good fellowship of the poker game and fishing trip, a kind of passionless passion, at once gross and delicate, homoerotic in the boy's sense, possessing an innocence above suspicion. It also evidences the still prevalent anxieties that many straight white Americans have about the savage wilds that they civilized, where before colonization, many native communities had their own unique forms of queerness. Not queer to them, but queer to the settlers who witnessed it and saw it as strange and disgusting. Indigenous peoples have always had their own gender systems that accommodated all sorts of people. Two-spirit people, for instance, or the Wergern of the Yurok people, or the Mojave Aliha and Huame. Same-sex attraction and relationships were also incredibly normal in many tribes, and those who we would consider to be transgender were often believed to be more spiritual and were frequently made shamans. To many colonist settlers, it was abhorrent to think of people of their own race as operating outside of white gender binaries too, the way that native folks did. When that carries over today into people's anxieties about queer cowpokes, what it translates to is, queerness has no place in our idealized world. You don't belong here. even though you've always been here. The problem, though, is that a lot of the time, in an attempt to gain acceptance and validity from the mainstream, queer spaces in turn uphold white supremacist ideals and recreate the very same power structures inside the community. This manifests most often in the deeply ingrained racism and misogyny that plagues a lot of white gay communities. The gay male fixation on the icon of the cowboy was partially due to internal turmoil. In the rise of the Reagan era, which pushed and popularized rugged, soulless masculinity, gay men, and particularly white gay men, struggled to feel validated in their own masculinity. This era saw the rise in gay subcultures of motorcycle gangs and a return to the turn-of-the-century fixation on outdoorsy muscle men, empowering new emphasis on straight acting as gay men railed against assumed effeminacy, which in turn alienated feminine or less macho gay men from many spaces. In order for white gay men to try and cater to mainstream masculine ideals and prove their place in cowboy culture, everyone else needed to be pushed out, and so some gay rodeo spaces began to disallow women and most people of color. While this has improved quite a lot in the new millennium, there is no question that we still have far to go. So friends, when you engage with the symbol of the gay cowboy or cowgirl, or cowpoke, or create characters or write Western stories, what do they look like to you? How diverse is that image? And what exactly does that buckaroo stand for? Come on, partner. You've got to stand for something. At the end of the day, what's most important of all is to keep in mind the perspectives of the Native American community when discussing the Old West and its legacies. In the past, a lot of non-native marginalized groups, I think, have made the mistake of approaching the issue with the mindset of, like, it wasn't just cishet white people on the frontier, we colonized the US too! Like, it's nothing to be proud of to be a participant in the displacement of native peoples from their lands, or their genocide. I think it's a mistake to take that approach, because all it does is continue to feed into this mythos that this land was savage and wild and empty, and needed to be claimed and tamed. It didn't. At the same time, it's also true that the Old West did serve as a place where many other groups of people, marginalized people too, did manage to create new lives for themselves outside of the social constraints of the more traditional cities and painful past they left behind. But acknowledging that cannot come at the cost of continuing to erase Native significance and perspectives from Old Western history. This isn't to tell you that you can't love cowboy media or ye old yeehaw shit. I mean, look at me. I'd be a goddamn hypocrite if I did. I lived in Texas way too many years for this shit to ever fully leave me. You can take the lesbian out of Texas, but you can't take the Texas out of the lesbian. As with every video I make, I think that coming to these topics ready to unlearn what's a problem in it can make it more clear what there actually is to love about it. So there you have it. The West was always queer as hell, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. There's always a place for gay and trans people out here, both in history and in the present. But don't just take it from me. I'm just one lonesome cowpoke out here in the night. Go out and see for yourself, partner. So, until we meet again in late March, wash your hands, wear your mask, be rootin', and by God, be tootin'.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay, I wanna read some of these now. That was sad, but also in a way, it was kind of comforting, you know?
Yeah. Like everything, like history is not like with anything in life, it's not like black and white. There's a lot of nuance to things. Nuance is important though. Like that's where the details are. But what did we think?
I'm glad I put little gay cowboy hats on ROCs.
Hell yeah. Do you feel like you learned a lot?
I learned a lot, and I'm still processing it because it's heavy, you know. Like seeing how many people cause like honestly, same. I didn't really know much about like cowboy culture because I've never really thought about it. It's like not something that's ever like caught my interest per se, right?
Yeah.
So I like knew very little about all of this. Like if anything, like my first kind of like I guess media experience with cowboys was straight up just watching people absolutely just like mass attack Lil Nas X when he dropped the
Yeah.
the music video, and I just saw people so angry. I'm like, y'all got rabies or something? Jesus, maybe need a hobby.
Yeah.
Like,
But in that, like,
well.
you kind of realize, like, the way that the Wild West has been painted in this kind of like white supremacist way, and also like it shows that those people don't understand like the real history within the Wild West.
Yeah, I feel it also has to do like I guess also with like a lot of like old timey movies in which like there's this visual, right? There's this just kind of like generic visual of what like the Wild West was like, even though it was probably very far off, you know, like actually hitting the history mark on it.
For me, like, cause like I grew up with like people in my family like watching westerns, and to me it always came off like very like hyper masculine, just like, you know, going in with like a gun, we're gonna like have a duel at noon, and
Why?
or like all the bar fights, like just like bar fights for like no reason, just like men punching each other. Like I feel like that's like kind of like the majority of Western is just like men punching each other or like having some conflict. But yeah, the West be very gay, both in like the thousands and thousands of years of like the indigenous peoples that were here, having like the fluidity of like gender, and then also like relationships and like gender roles and expression, and then like on top of that um like people like wanting to escape like the like colonial like societies, like because like they weren't accepted, it was harder for them to like make money, or they were like ostracized or were running from something, and then they were able to like kind of like go off and kind of like be like in the like wilderness, like away from people. And yeah, it's very complicated.
It is. I did have an idea.
An idea?
Mm-hmm.
What's this idea?
My idea was that. No, maybe it's dumb. No, I shouldn't say it out loud. Maybe it's too dumb of an idea.
Type it.
Type it.
Type it.
I don't know.
I mean, no, I was just like, you'll know how it like we've talked about like exploring kind of like abandoned mining towns and stuff like that in the past. Mm-hmm. And like I'm just like, wonder if we could do something like that, and just like, cuz I feel like, right? It's just a feeling. I'm not saying it's true, or maybe I'm crazy. I am a little crazy, but that's not the point. So, what if just what if maybe someday we do that, right? And we go to like maybe like an area in which was like known to have like just a lot of like, you know, gay and lesbian couples, etc., you know? And like just maybe just like talk in the area about like how far things have come in comparison to those days, and maybe it'll make their spirits a little happy. I don't know. Maybe a silly idea.
That's an adorable idea.
I'm just saying, like, because like half of this video, I was just like, I was crying because it was beautiful, but like super fucking tragic, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's also like a lot of stuff from the Wild West that like we still like within like that like queer people still have to like endure. Like it's certainly like things are like the best that they've been, but also
And that's really sad because there's still a lot of really bad things happening to a lot of people, you know? And that is just really, really tragic to think about. I'm sorry, I'm just like over here getting emotional. Like, I got tears coming out of my freaking eyes, dude. B is just watching me cry over here. Oh my god. Like, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up. It's really sad.
Yeah.
No one deserves that. Cause like, here's the thing. Like the main huge thing that I've just like, I don't know if I heard it from somewhere, but it's just like, fuck. I think it was from watching posts that just it really hit me, right? By the way, anybody that might be listening to this educational stream / VOD later on YouTube, watch posts. Posts will break your heart, but also it'll make you cry from like how beautiful community can really be in some of the darkest fucking times.
Those will break your heart and build you a new one.
Yeah.
It has amazing representation too. Like I think it's like the show with like the most like actual like trans like representation, like actual like trans actors, because usually like in media like a lot of times like trans people are played by cis people, and it's like, which like I feel like having actual representation like in Pose, you can like feel like it feels like authentic, like to the true experience, and like people have like an easier time like understanding, gaining empathy for like the person that's being represented if it's actually played by like an actual person that like that is the role of like, you know, that character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
it's a really great show.
Yeah, and I feel like there was a quote, not it's not a direct quote, but like it was kind of like the feeling of just like the line that was said in Pose. It's just like, I like, you know, like, why would anybody put themselves through so much pain and like social like isolation on purpose? Like, why would anybody, like, you know, like these things are just like things that like nobody has any freaking control over. You know, it's just
Yeah, you don't get a choice.
you don't get a fucking choice. Like, why would you choose to be freaking persecuted, witch hunted, harassed, freaking murdered, like assaulted, you know, everything in the goddamn book? Like, why would you choose this? Like, nobody would freaking choose this. Nobody would actually do that on their own. Like, you know, just be like, oh, you know, like, I'm just gonna be like, you know, this, you know, because this can apply to, like, trans people. This is gonna apply to gay people, you know, lesbian people. Why would they want to hurt themselves to that degree if it was just simply who they are? It's simply who they are. It's not something they have control over.
Yeah, you don't choose who you are. You just learn to accept who you are.
That's something you just turn off and on.
Yeah. And, like, you know, it's really fucked up, really. Like, a lot of, you know, like, queer struggles, and also, like people of color struggles, right? These are things just, like, you're born like this. There's literally nothing you can do about it. And sometimes, like, people, like, I've seen, right, that, like, there's been, like, plenty of people that have, like, quote unquote gone back into the closet, or, like, just been, like, they've buckled to the harassment of other people. And it hurts them. It hurts them emotionally and mentally. And just, like, some of the things that I've just, like, heard from, like, acquaintances and friends. And it's just, like, you're already having such a difficult fucking time with just existing. Because existence is hard for most people. And it's just, like, I want to help just by, like, being here, you know, and supporting you, because, like, it sounds really lonely. It sounds really lonely,
Yeah.
and really isolating.
It is.
And I really don't, like, we're human beings. At the end of the day, we're also, like, we're human beings, and human beings are social at the core of their beings, because if human beings weren't social, civilization really wouldn't have sprouted to begin with, because being social naturally just brings forth just collaboration, especially if you really, like, you know, vibe with somebody. I'm just...
Yeah, social is survival. Like in hard times, like the most essential thing to have is community. Like people that support you, people that will fight for you,
Mm-hmm.
people
Yeah.
that get it.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just, like, I'm just, like, over here getting emotional, and just, like, I'm freaking crying. Like, oh my god.
Also, I just want to point out, respect to the creator that made this video for just having a mass of all of the sources that they used.
Yeah.
Yeah. They ate and left no crumbs.
For
Like
real.
it's a
And
very
left no crumb.
as I was like trying to find like the perfect like video to encapsulate like the Wild West, like this one has always been the one that I feel like is the most complete and the most extensive in like covering all bases, and really good books. Definitely check out the video to definitely like check out the books that they source in there, because holy shit, like it's really good books.
Also, we kept the sponsored segment in. We didn't skip it. So that if
Yes,
anyone...
ethical reacts.
If anyone feels like they want to support this creator, by all means, very good content.
Yep. Amazing content.
The channel and everything is on the screen right now.
Mm-hmm. And I posted the link in the chat. I'll also post it in the VOD upload. Worry not.
Oh yeah.
Worry not.
they make really good videos just about like culture, like media, history. Very good. Very good.
Very entertaining as well. At that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not just like an info dump. It's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just a lazy documentary. There's a lot that went into this.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate the costume changes.
Yeah, real.
Hell yeah.
So, what's next on the itinerary, Nick?
Next is so like I kind of wanted to go into more kind of like analyzing in detail on like the what the media was saying, like the rhetoric of the Wild West in regards to like the articles I found the most were like of just like trans people within the Wild West and like how they were being depicted. Because I feel like it's very kind of important to see like kind of like the media then and like I know that the rhetoric I hear now is also very similar, but yeah, we're gonna take a look at these.
Yeah.
Here's the first one.
Do you want to pull it up on screen? Also, a
Yeah.
few of these articles as well were referenced in the video that we just watched. This is a good opportunity to go a little more in depth on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me see how I can show it on screen.
Right click it, open link. We'll just pull it up on your browser so you don't need to do anything
Oh.
special.
Yeah, okay, you're right. Oh, you're so right. Thank you, honey. This is why you're my personal IT honey. Thank you so much.
This
Wasn't
one is
Harry
also
Allen
about the same
mentioned?
story. Yeah. He's like a very like cuz like we don't have a whole lot of like material like media sourcing from that era cuz many of it like either by time disintegrated or like just like or was like, you know, destroyed but like Harry Allen is a very like prominent like person that is like well studied within the Wild West in regards to queer history. But like the and then also like it's kind of like the media nowadays how a lot of it is like kind of like they want to like catch you, they want to like catch your engagement, so they're gonna like use fear mongering words or like words that are like words that like spark like outrage or fear.
You know,
So,
you
but if
saying
you
fear,
notice,
it made me think of something.
what's that?
I'm just like me thinking my thought immediately starts crying.
Aw.
I need to get my thoughts out before I even start crying. Holy shit.
Also, obviously, trigger warning transphobia. There's gonna be like, you know, rhetoric that is distasteful,
Yeah.
Also,
but it's
this
important
is
to kind of.
this is impossible to read on stream, so we will need to read it out loud.
That's okay. No, but like, bruh. You wanna know like the main thing that just kind of like, just thinking about it makes me so freaking like emotional? It's just like fear, right?
Yeah.
And I just like think about like queer kids that like get disowned by their families, and I'm like, how could anybody do that to their babies?
Yeah.
That's your baby. And just like like thinking about it, right? I just like, it's just really sad. Like, I feel like it's innately right, like a living thing, kind of like thing that, or at least for humans and like a lot of mammals, right, is that they depend so much on their parents early in life.
Yeah.
And then like there's parents that have like disowned, hurt, or like kicked out like their children for something that they have like zero control over, and I just can't wrap my like head around it.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot of it is.
that's so scary. Like, that's so scary. Imagine like you tell like your parent something about yourself that you're scared of, telling them, and then they react in the worst way possible, and all of your fears come true. Like, that is terrifying, and that is so sad.
Oh yeah, I've lived it. I've lived it twice.
And that is really fucking sad, okay? Like,
Yeah.
that's some fucked up shit for you and for literally anybody else to go through. Because no child deserves that.
Yeah. It's very difficult when, like, people who, you know, because, like, they're your family, like, you expect them to be, like, to be there for you. And, like, from a young age, like, they have been the people, whether they did a good job at it or not, but they were taking care of you. Like, so, and also just, like, children already have, like this innate kind of thing where it's, like, a caretaker is, like, a very prominent part about, like, a very prominent part of, like, their life, like, what they think about themselves, and, like, we learn how to, like, be in the world, like, from a young age from our parents, and for them to just, like,
Abandon you.
you know, yeah.
That's so fucked up, dude. It takes so much. Like, I feel like most children like are just most. I'm not saying all. There's always going to be, you know, like exceptions to this. But I feel like most children love their parents, and it takes like a lot of like just horrible things that a parent will do towards a kid for them to like cut them off or leave. And I like, especially a couple of years ago, right, there were so many just like queer people that were like disowned by their family, and just like hearing about it and just like, that's so fucking heartbreaking, you know?
Yeah.
That's really fucking sad.
In regards to like queer, like for the like houseless population, like there's a big chunk of that is like queer children, and like the biggest being like trans children.
Pisses me off. Some people just shouldn't be parents if they're not gonna take care of their children. I've seen like some parents like just unacceptable. Shouldn't have children if they're not gonna love them.
This is true.
Shouldn't be having children whatsoever. Sorry, I'm just like over here just like crying, and like I couldn't freaking see anything because like my glasses got all cloudy.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I cannot read this text. Fighter,
oh, that's okay.
bootlegger, and quote-unquote bad man is Miss Pickrell, for love of whom 3 women have killed themselves?
Yeah.
Grammar back then was a little odd.
Oh, apparently. Oh my god.
But it kind of just like goes on like it said like, and I'm just gonna say they because I really don't want to like they wear men's clothing and is equally at home in a saloon brawl or fist fight. They has never failed to hold their own with the toughest men in the Pacific Northwest. But like a lot of it is just like kind of the framing of this clipping is like, oh, like this person is like violent and like uh and I see a lot like in the media nowadays kind of framing like trans people as like, like violent or you know, uh
That's crazy.
I don't know if I can say that word on Twitch.
Bruh, I know. Bro, that's fucking crazy. Most trans people that like I've just come to talk to or know are obsessed with fucking frogs. Gays and trans people, everybody fucking loves the frogs. They're putting chemicals in the goddamn water, making the damn frogs gay. Gosh darn it. I need to say something ridiculous because I'm gonna burst in tears again. But continue.
Well, statistically, like trans people, like like of course, like not a monolith, but like very, 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 very rarely compared to the rest of the population and like demographically, like the largest perpetrators of violence are cis men, particularly like Caucasian, is like according to like every like report that's the highest.
According
but like
to multiple
statistically, like trans people are not violent. We're not criminals. Like, if anything, we have a higher, up to 4 times higher likelihood of having violence committed onto us systemically. We are the victims of violence, especially like domestic violence or like other forms of violence. Yeah, or like, being unalived by people.
Yeah.
But yeah, like compared to the rhetoric that I've seen like over like the past 10 years to like even now, like we're like still kind of like, because there are like 2 big drivers of like motivation for people, and that is fear and love. And usually like fear, like especially when you're ignorant and like you aren't educated and like what a group of people like is or like what they're about, and when there's such a small population and other people are able to paint a narrative who are much bigger than this group of people, then it can be a bit more difficult to like combat it and like educate the public. I feel like I spend a ton of time educating the public on like,
You shouldn't have to though. You really shouldn't. You should not be responsible for people just not self-educating. Like straight up. Because here's the thing, right?
Well, it's also that like there are people that like they do educate themselves, but they're educating themselves on like the very biased and unaccredited like things, or like people who they see as authority figures are telling them something, or people that they deem as credible are telling them misinformation. But it's like, if you really want to know about a group of people, then ask the group of people, like, because they're gonna have like they're gonna know like the best. They're gonna know their own culture. They're gonna know like what they're all about.
Bro. Okay, I know a way
Which
to
is
simplify
like
it.
which is why I'm chill with educating people. But like there's a lot of it.
You're being very kind by taking time out of your day to educate people when some people don't even deserve your time. You know?
Well, it's more of a, at this point, like a survival thing, because like if I can educate somebody into not harming people like me, then that's a net positive for people like me.
That's so valid.
It's like a survival thing, but
Still, it is. You are kinder to people than people are kind to you.
there's enough bad shit in the world. I don't need to add to it.
Yeah?
I prefer fighting for people as a whole rather than, you know, make the world worse.
Mm-hmm. Well, just so you know, Nick, I've always just appreciated all the patience that you have had at, you know,
Yeah.
just educating people.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another article.
Let me pull up.
It's mainly the headlines that are the most important because that's the tagline that's, you know, grabbing people's attention.
Yeah.
But this one also is like, I sent another one.
The first two that you sent were both
Oh,
from
yeah.
Washington.
Yeah. Washington wasn't always as woke as it was.
Yeah.
Well, then again, like, yeah. Yeah, I think the Pacific Northwest does have like a very complicated history in its own.
Oh, for
like
sure.
But for this one, it's kind of like the framing is like, oh, like these poor innocent women were like corrupted by this person. Oh no, like so scandalous, so scary. Like, and like we kind of see the same. Well, no, we definitely see the same where it's like you know, like a lot of like the transphobic rhetoric that I see is like, oh, like these people are trying to trick you, and like, you know, they're trying to like or the, you know, quote unquote transgenderism bullshit, where it's like, oh, they're trying to like, you know, convert you to this. It's like you can't convert somebody to be trans. Like you either are or you aren't. So it's like, yeah. Then
It seems very, just very what's there's a word that I'm looking, sensationalism coded. It's just like, wow, this just crazy thing is happening. Weird story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like a lot of it is like you see a lot of the words of like strange and weird and like kind of framing it as like this isn't like societally acceptable.
Me just like, bruh.
I did notice that like through like looking through like different like clippings and like kind of like looking into it, it seems like trans men were kind of depicted more in the media solely because of like society's idea of like, oh, like or like, you know, like misogyny in general. Like it was more scandalous if like a trans man was a trans man, because there's like a lot more like articles about like trans men and kind of like they're like, oh, like this person is wearing like clothing that like should be for strictly like, you know, masculine clothing, and that's like scandalous.
The horror of pantaloons.
Wear whatever the fuck you want.
Whatever the fuck you want. Some of these
But I
like
sent-
some of these like headlines, it's just like, bro,
Yeah.
like it is. I mean, I'm just like trying to read the article, right? Because it's like it's super blurry, you know. It's like a super freaking old article from like what, over like
Yeah.
120 years ago at this point or something. I can't even read the date, and I'm just like, bro.
Yeah, they kind of framed him as like, oh, this person is going around wooing up and like wooing all these women like left and right, just like going across the Pacific Northwest, just like, you know, taking up all the women and like taking them away from the men, and well,
feel like we gotta make it a headline because Alan is got some fucking immaculate game. So
he's got
much
like
fucking game.
he's got like immaculate W, dude. He's got immaculate W aura.
Local Rizzler.
He is like
local
aura maxing
Rizzler.
for real.
Bruh. Local
Rose
Rizzler.
Rizzler.
Local Rizzler aura maxes the women.
Hell yeah.
Oh fuck. Yep. It's just like, and it's just like they committed suicide over what's his name? Alan?
Harry Allen.
Harry Allen. I'm just like, bruh, y'all read way too much Romeo and Juliet. Please. Please. Why would you do that over anybody? Do not. Do not. That's like the only thing I'm coming in like. Local Rizzler has women going burr. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Let me see. Do we got any other articles? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I'm trying my best to like read them, but they're really blurry.
They are really blurry, yeah. So yeah, like this one, like the framing is like, oh, like this is like a choice, but like, you know, as we know, it's not a choice. People don't choose to like be like queer, gay, trans. It's not something you get a say in. You're just born that way.
Yeah. You want to know a thing, right? That just like my body tells me, right? It's like whenever in my cycle, right? Maybe a little TMI, but it I have a point, I promise. Whenever my like the testosterone in my body is the highest, I feel the absolute fucking worst. Like I feel so bad. Like I have the most horrific thoughts, right? But when like my estrogen levels are like, you know, like at their highest, I always like feel so just like euphoric, if that makes any sense at all.
See, for me, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. Like when my testosterone is at good levels, I feel amazing. Like I feel like myself. I feel like very grounded. I don't feel like destabilized and
Yeah, no, like B knows when I'm on during my freaking cycle week, I am not okay. Like he's just giving me this look right now. He's like, you are not okay. You are not all right when your testosterone's at the highest. And I'm like, I know, cause like I say the most horrifically self-deprecating, sad, depressing things about myself, and then when my estrogen's back up, I'm like, that's right, I am the baddest bitch in this side of town. Gosh darn it! And I am feeling myself, and like I feel like in a way it just like makes me think like, and that's how I feel like myself like comfortable right with myself. And I'm just like yeah. I'm a woman, you know? I am a woman. I feel comfortable as a woman, and this is for me. And you know, like other people.
Yeah, that's how I feel, but
you
being
know?
a man.
Yeah, it's just I feel good like this. I feel good. I feel confident. I feel happy. I have so much energy. I have so much motivation. But when I'm on testosterone, I'm just like, existence is pain, and everything everything hurts emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
I am the most depressing person.
You get it. The only difference is that you don't have like the incongruence. Your gender matches up with your assigned at birth.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and I feel like everybody should just be their happiest, and like do what it takes to make them feel happy, because happiness is it's not a finite thing. I feel like happiness and love are two things that like they're ever expanding, they're ever growing type of things, kind of like the universe, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I know for me, like, even though shit's rough right now, like, I am the happiest and most, like, stable feeling. Like, I'm the happiest I've ever been, like, in my life. Because, like, things feel right for once.
Hell yeah. Let me open this one. Let's see. No more trousers. Okay, now no. Who stole trousers? Who the fuck stole somebody's pantaloons? Oh.
Wow. From fucking.
So this is an
prosecuting
article
eternity.
about.
That's so fun.
Yeah. Trying to force somebody to wear the clothes that they think that this person should be wearing, but
That's fucking crazy. Like, that's insane. Like, just wear whatever the fuck you want. You want some trousers? You want some petticoats? You want some shorts? Where the it's just like protection from the weather. Like, and like do whatever the fuck you want with your little like flexible body armor. The fuck?
yeah.
It's not that deep. Why are you laughing at me?
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the fucking facts.
I just see him over there, just like stifling laughter because he's like, "Yeah, you're so right." Choose whatever fucking
But it's like,
body armor you want.
So in this article, there's not even like a law, there's not even a law, but like literally this let's see. So like this attorney just decided that they were like, oh, I think there's some like ancient statute we can maybe like prosecute him for. So like they just kind of like threw him in jail, and just like basically he just like chilled out in jail for like a while until they decided to like take it to a trial.
That's crazy though. Like, bro, well, what's her name? Attorney McIntosh?
Yeah.
And they're trying to justify it at the end. A few years ago, a waitress fell in love with them and committed suicide when she realized the mistake she'd made. Like, also, oh no, whoopsie daisy, fuck, the person didn't mean to, time to die.
That's crazy though. Y'all, this is why you should live your best life.
Real.
Like,
Fuck what other people think. Live what you think.
live your best life. Live your best life. That's crazy though. You can't freaking control other people's actions. How's this freaking fault?
It was like there wasn't even a fucking law against like, you know, wearing specific clothes. And they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna throw this guy in jail just cause, haha, and then like we'll figure something out to like frame him for. It's like, bro.
Okay, I'm reading like the article. It says under the name of Harry Livington. Wait.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like.
Living...
I'm sorry. I'm like trying to decipher this because it's like so blurry. Lived a hard, fast life for the past dozen years. He always stresses. What's that word? I don't even know what that word says. Making a good-looking young man. I don't know, Attorney McIntosh. I just think you were kind of gay for him, but whatever, I guess. Okay, then. Maybe live your truth wherever the fuck you went after all this. He is just over there, just like nodding, like, yep. You're like, so y'all recognize that he was a good looking.
Oh, like, wait, this is for fucking the same person that the previous article was about.
Is that?
Yeah, because I see Picaro. Well, no, not this one. The one before. Oh, wait, no, this one too.
Huh.
And the previous one as well.
I mean, look at him. He was very dapper.
Dapper ass boy.
Look at his little dapper hat.
Oh yeah.
Look at he Kane.
Look that Kane. Look at that. Dapper. Dapper. Absolutely dapper.
I don't think that's a cane. I think that's a riding crop.
Dapper.
Is it? It looks kind of like a cane.
Maybe. Well, I can't tell. It's too damn blurry. But look at that.
That is a riding crop.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know what a riding crop is.
Smack the horse butt.
Use it to
Ah.
yeah.
I mean, makes sense. There's a picture of him on a horse here.
Yeah.
Tap horse, go fast.
Tap horse, go fast.
Did I already send this one? I'll send it again.
What the fuck?
Huh?
It's one.
Trousered woman is wild.
Bites
Oh no, the
police.
woman's wearing pants.
Oh
like,
my
bro.
god. Oh wait.
Yeah, like the outrage of like, oh, pants, and then also like, oh, violent cause bit policeman.
Like, it's crazy that bites policeman is the second line on this, and trousered woman is the first.
Oh my god.
Like, trousered woman is the highest offense in this fucking article.
Can we all agree though, like that, like, you know, like the shit that the media is like portraying for this person is like fucking ridiculous.
Oh, 100%.
Like it's stuff that like that I don't know. It's like ridiculous. It's like, is this like a comedy thing?
Long
like is this like
known to the Seattle police.
a skit or? It's like it's too ridiculous to like feel like real life, but like, you know, like
Yeah, these are real
unfortunately.
articles from Lord knows
and we
how
have
long
like
ago.
the same
1915?
rhetoric
Oh, we could
today.
be. From
Oh yeah.
what is that, like 111 years ago or
Yeah.
something?
111.
Yeah.
111.
That's crazy though.
We gotta like mark that date and make it like a yearly holiday on that date in July, celebrating. Wait, what year is it again?
1915.
The bite of 15.
Yeah.
It ain't the bite of 87. It's the bite of 15.
Oh jeez. Same. You're a gremlin.
This one is probably a little easier to read.
Here,
But
let me see.
Neil Pickerel, long known to the Seattle police, first as an incorrigible child, and in recent years as the heroine of many escapades in male attire, which they persist in wearing, was arrested last night at First Avenue North and Harrison Street on suspicion of being a participant in the robbery of the grocery store. The person was captured by motorcycle policeman J.J. Cush. Damn. After a chase of several blogs, and even after being captured, fought fiercely, biting the officer severely on the hand before they subdued. During the pursuit of the person, a man who had rifled the cash drawer of the store managed to effect his escape.
The end of the article is where an actual crime happens, and it's not even the person the article is about.
Yeah, and here's the other thing is, like, because of the villainization and the rhetoric of the media, it wasn't uncommon for, like, for, like, them to be within the vicinity, like, to be in town, and then, like, a crime is, like, happening, like, you know, on the other side of town, but then the authorities would go, they would know, like, oh, like, this person that is, like, that we think is, like, societally unacceptable, like, they would just, like, go and be like, oh, we think you did it, even though, like, they didn't do it, they weren't involved. Like, train robberies, like, bank robberies were often, like, put onto queer people or, like, people of color instead of, like, the actual people who committed the crimes.
That's crazy, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Wow. It's fucked up.
They would get, like, harassed by authorities, and yeah. Which, I mean, that just still happens today, so.
Mm-hmm.
True.
It's fucked up, y'all. It's fucked up.
But here,
Wait, how long has stream gone?
It's only 7.
It's been-
We're 13 hours past. 13 minutes.
it's 2
Not
hours.
Not hours. 13 minutes.
Okay. I mean, we can just like pick it up again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause like
Well, that's about it
Oh, it's in.
for the Wild West.
Bet.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I'm gonna go get myself a little cowboy hat.
Hell yeah.
Go get myself a little cowboy
Wild West
hat.
square as fuck.
Square as fuck.
Oh boy, I found another one from the original post that Nick made.
Huh?
One of the titles is How Catherine Madden Fell a Victim to Strong Drink and Why Nell Pickerel Will Not Wear Women's Clothing. How someone died to a really strong drink, and why this person wears the clothes they wear.
What does that have to do with the other?
Correlation does
It
not equal
doesn't.
causation.
It doesn't,
fuck.
The very, like, definition.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. Oh goodness. It's some crazy shit. Anyways, I should probably go find someone to raid before I forget, because I will forget, and I'll just like.
You want to see if anyone from the
Yeah, that's actually what I'm gonna do.
nice.
Mm-hmm. Hold on, let me go look. Let me go take a look. Look. Oh, yeah. Yo. You?
Katie just been snoozing most of the time.
Yeah?
She ate and she is conked.
Oh, sweetheart.
No, that's her mom.
She gets it from her mom.
That's sweetheart, this is sweetie.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very, very close The name of my grandma's old cat looked very similar to her, which was Edie.
Yeah.
She is squeaky.
It's just a little penguin. Let's see. Streaming? I'm just trying to see who's live right now. Who is live right now? Live right now. Someone that's live right now. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, another person that's participating in Camp Chaos. The name is Hey Krista, and what are they playing? Life is Strange Remastered. Hell yeah!
Oh, it's this game. This game was massive quite a few years ago.
Yeah. There you go.
Hell yeah.
Now we got business.
Hell yeah, now we got business.
Now we got business. Hell yeah. Perfect. There we go. Okie dokie, once again, thank you all so much for hanging out with us and listening in on our educational stream. It's very appreciated. Thank you all so much. And we'll be back hopefully tomorrow for part 2. I'll post up a little graphic. I've just I was trying to get a little more promo in for it, but you know, Kitten has been taking up my past week or so, but it's worth it. She's worth it. She's adorable. Yeah, we're gonna go raid Hey Krista, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna count down and we'll go raid them. Okay, it's gonna be a 3 and a 2 and a copy the raid message and a 1 and a raid.
Oh, Life is Strange. That's so gay.
Bite your head off.
So incredibly gay.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect for Pride Month.
Awesome. Welcome in,